And the outcome has been amazing. One of my clients is like, I almost teared up. And I think it was, she's going through divorce. And I think it was this like ChatGPT understands her more than her husband was like understanding her.
Welcome to Authentic AI for Entrepreneurs, the podcast that shows you how to leverage the power of AI technology without wasting your time or selling your soul. Let's embrace making AI work for you. Hey, my human friends, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Kinsey, and oh man, today's conversation is just so good. We are chatting with Kristin, who is a brand voice expert, and she is dishing up some really awesome actionable tips for how to use ChatGPT to not only write copy that sounds like your brand, but also just hone your brand voice from the get-go. Especially if you are one of those people who aren't necessarily confident in your writing style or your brand voice right now. She shares tips for how ChatGPT can actually help you hone that, which is awesome. So I can't wait to share this conversation with you. If you do love this as much as I do, make sure that you share it with a business buddy who could also use to listen to it. And or share it to your Instagram stories and make sure that you tag me. I'm at Authentic AI for Entrepreneurs. And if you tag me, I will be able to reshare it and just give you a follow and spread the love to you over there. All right, let's dive in. Hi, Kristin.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming on Authentic AI for Entrepreneurs, lady. I'm so excited to bring you on the show.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. And I did already introduce you just a little bit in the intro, but I'd love to hear from you. Who are you? What do you do? Who do you serve?
Yeah, so I'm Kristen Lawton. I call myself a marketing mixologist because I think that cocktails and branded marketing go hand in hand. But I'm with the District Brand Bar. I live in Washington, D.C., and I really help a lot of solo entrepreneurs and small businesses craft those like foundations of their brand and create an effortless marketing strategy. So it's really easy to market their brand themselves and sort of go back to what they're best at, which is serving their clients, however it is they do that.
Yes, and we align on so many levels, from the feel good social approach to business for me to authentic AI and everything in between. I'm so excited to geek out with you.
Yes.
But I do like to kind of just kick off these conversations by asking, how did you start dipping your toes into the AI world? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. You know, it was like last year around this time, we're like hearing a lot about it, but like didn't really have time to dig into it. And then ended up having shoulder surgery that I like was not expecting. And after, you know, binging everything that I could and just like being bored, I was able to like prop myself up in my bed, but I wasn't like really serving any clients or anything at the time. And I just dove headfirst into it, like creating a lot of content and sort of backlogging stuff. And it was really nice to sort of have this like dedicated time to learn about it and use it for my business. I like went in, like repurposed tons of content and reworked it for my brand. And yeah, so I felt like I was able to give myself a little like, you know, 2-week education around like how to use ChatGPT and craft the right prompts and all of that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I feel you. I know, like I've felt that too, where I'm just like sitting at home bored on the couch. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna hop onto ChatGPT and just see what's up, like play around with different things. It's so much fun. What did it look like for you as you've started to use AI tools in your business? What are some of your favorite ways to use it?
Yeah, so I'm pretty much just like a ChatGPT fan. I have tried, you know, using all the others that like will use the same prompt and like what's now Gemini, and it's like ChatGPT and then some other like AI apps. Like I love Fathom for meeting notes and stuff. But, you know, I create a lot of content for my brand, and then I create a lot of messaging, brand messaging and brand stories for my clients, and really being able to hone like the brand voice that it feels authentic and, you know, really be able to create content quickly so that, you know, for me, it's about getting done with my work faster so that I can sort of like go enjoy my life. But I mean, yeah, I use it for so much. It's really just like my teammate, you know, like I work by myself. I don't have anyone, you know, that I work with. And I just consider chat like my intern, and it is nice to brainstorm. And a lot of the times I won't use anything it suggests, but it's just nice to like bounce ideas off of. And so really like people, I think, because I use like, I'm like, oh, I'm working with chat today on this, and they're like, okay.
They're like, checks?
Chat? I know, right? Yeah. Who? Like, oh, my intern, unpaid. Well, I give it like $20 a month.
I love that so much. That is so funny. I totally agree with you too. As like solopreneurs,
Yeah.
I mean, it is. I get so in my head sometimes, and that is one of my favorite ways to use ChatGPT too. Is just like, oh my gosh, I have all of these ideas that I need to flesh out right now. So even just like brain dumping into ChatGPT and having it organize my thoughts for me, reflect it back to me. I'm able to like ask it questions. That's like one of my favorite ways to use it on a daily basis too.
Totally. I love asking just like why and drilling down, like if it suggests something, well, why this? And then it like helps me figure out my framework. And I've also learned, like, I'm a generator for human design. I've learned that like I need to respond to questions too to like help me get there. So a lot of times I'll be, I'll say, I really want to work on X today. I want to redesign my sales page, or I want to create a caption for this. Like, do you have questions for me before we get started? And so just the questions it asks me helps me really figure out, okay, this is actually what I want to be talking about, or this is how I want to do it.
Yeah, totally. Okay, I want to get so into all of the little tricks that we have for ChatGPT and stuff. But also, I did hear you say, and this has been popping up in other conversations for me lately, that you do use it with client work and whatnot, which I love. And I've been doing that too. But I wonder if you have any thoughts about how you have been communicating with your clients that you are using AI tools. Has that been an issue? Were you nervous about transparency at all? And like, how have they responded? What has that looked like for you?
Yeah, I think I'm very transparent. I will pull it up. I will let them see the chat's prompts, so it sees that like I'm inputting information on my own and then sort of helping arrive at it. So I do a lot where I'm like building websites for clients and sort of, but I do the full picture of like really understanding the brand and what the website structure should be, what should be on it, the market research, but really figuring out that brand story. And then we take the brand story and translate that into copy. But it is that like really getting into their brand voice that it's hard, for me to do on my own. I mean, I did it before ChatGPT, they hire me for that expertise. But I think when they can see how I push back on chat and sort of like, okay, I like where this is, but this isn't really nailing their brand voice, or we want the website to have this more of a feel. And so I really think it is about being transparent. And I mean, some are just like amazed and so excited that I haven't had anyone that isn't just kind of blown away with what we're able to accomplish with chat, and they can see that I am guiding it, So no, I haven't had any issues. And in fact, they can see that it is making the product much better.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that, because exactly I've had this conversation multiple times where it's like, yeah, could your clients go use ChatGPT to write copy or do whatever for every industry? And it's like, yes, but do they know how to get the best results out of these AI tools? Do they know the language to use? Do they know the questions to ask and all that different stuff? And I think it's really cool too to think about like, if you can bring AI tools into the work that you do and your expertise, it's actually, I think that it's going to become a more normal thing for that to be wanted in a way from your clients too. It's just kind of a way of expanding your own brain and expanding your own creativity and your own ideas. And then if they can get that whole expertise in like one branding package, that's so awesome.
Exactly. And, my whole point is that I want to be able to turn over, create these foundations for my clients, and then they are able to do it themselves. And so by sort of showing them how I'm working at it and walking them through how you can still create this like authentic content that's on brand and get it out quickly with ChatGPT, I think is just like, it's a game changer for them too.
And oh my gosh, okay, so I've been geeking out lately too about like the custom GPTs and everything too. And like that is totally something that you could add to a brand voice package, right? Like create a custom GPT for your clients that fully understands the brand voice, and then they can hand that off to their interns or whoever's creating their content. Or oh man, just the possibilities, girl.
Exactly. It's endless.
Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into kind of some nitty-gritty tips when it comes
Hmm.
to using ChatGPT, prompting ChatGPT,
Hmm.
honing your brand voice with
Yes.
ChatGPT, which I love. So what are some things you are finding, lady?
Yeah, so this is a hack that I sort of was working on last month, and I've been using it with literally everyone I come across, and I'm just like so pumped about it. But I do think, we always talk about with ChatGPT, like how it can help really put your content into your brand voice or like put content in your brand voice. But it is a little hard to define what your brand voice is like to start. And so I think it's like getting at, a lot of it is like, well, you can put copy, right? Something that you've written that feels like it's very you into chat. But some people don't have that, right? They're starting from scratch or they feel like it's still very generic. How do they stand out? So I was thinking about, yeah, how do you really get at the beginning pieces of defining that brand voice and how can we have chat do that? And so I work with a lot of solo entrepreneurs, people who are kind of like the face of their business. And so what I did is basically you're creating like a dating profile almost, but it's like the prompt is essentially like, hey, we're going to work on my personal brand voice. I'm going to give you a lot of information about me and I want to hear what you have to say about it. That's essentially the gist. But you're putting in like your Myers-Briggs, your human design, your Enneagram, your horoscope, your hobbies, what people would say about you. Basically like make it look like a dating profile, of like, what you don't, what you do for work. And the outcome has been amazing. One of my clients is like, I almost teared up, and I think it was she's going through divorce, and I think it was this like ChatGPT understands her more than her husband was like understanding her. But it was just what it gives you is an amazing place to start
Mhm.
to really hone what your brand voice is. And it's just like a really fun exercise because I think we'll go really deep on human design or your Enneagram, but when you combine it all, and it's really hard for, us to take all of these inputs ourselves and like spit out something that like is this so well rounded about what you are. And, the way that it does it for me, but I've had people who are, looking for a job be able to write a portfolio around this and just like update their LinkedIn profile based on that, creating like any kind of messaging. If you're looking for that like initial, Instagram about me, like, hey, let me introduce myself, like it can just spit out because you've told it everything, but it combines it together in this way that is so unique.
Yeah, oh girl, I love that so much. And I'm so glad you brought that up too, because yeah, exactly. There's like two methods for really trying to get ChatGPT to nail your brand voice. If you have copy
Right.
to feed it and have it analyze, that's awesome.
Yes.
But also, yeah, you can describe your brand voice, but that's so hard to nail down, so much harder. And I love too, firstly, that you bring all the personality stuff into it because exactly. It's one of those things that it really does. I love personality tests, and they really are a reflection of who we are.
Hmm.
And, a lot of people are like, I don't want to be put into the box or whatever.
Exactly.
But if you can feed so many different
So many
personality things
things.
into it and
Yeah.
all the different stuff, ChatGPT really can analyze all of that and
Oh,
see how
yes.
it fits together. That is so
And
fun.
it spits it out so much, but like, I've put in my like Clifton strengths, like anything that you have. And again, it can just be things that people have said about you, what your friends would say about you, whatever you feel passionately about. In mine, I tell it how, I'm a Democrat, that's really passionate about social issues. And I like spending time with my husband and cooking and making craft cocktails. And here are my favorite 4 emojis that I use, like I just sort of like spit out a lot, give it everything so that it can have that full picture. So, right, you aren't just like, I'm a manifesting generator and that's my thing, like because we are full people.
Yeah, yeah. And also, what I'm loving about this too is I have found that if you can find a word or a phrase or a label, quote unquote label
Hmm.
or something that like defines like something perfectly, that's easier for to use with ChatGPT than just
Yes.
like brain dumping everything like all at once, which I totally feel you like the brain dump and all that stuff. But like for example, solopreneurs, like that word with ChatGPT just says so
It
much
does.
more in
Yes.
like less than like other words if I were to describe like a
Right.
solopreneur or something, right?
Well,
So
and then what you could do is, when you have it input it, then I'll ask, okay, if you were to give me 5 taglines, what would it be? and you can really like keep narrowing down that brand voice. And then, from what it gives you, say, okay, if you were to describe my brand voice in 2 paragraphs, like what would that be? And then that you can use for when you go to create your content.
Yes, 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 lady. I love it. And also, too, I love that you brought it to like kind of the dating profile situation, right? Because I do think that that is such kind of a mindset block for a lot of entrepreneurs
Yeah.
is like, okay, but who is my business? Like, it's hard for them to think
Right.
of their business as like a person, which really is the best way to develop
Yeah.
a personality and all that stuff. So it is. It's about like, thinking about it like a dating profile, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily your
Right.
LinkedIn profile, maybe, or something.
Exactly. And I do think that when we start a business, there is reflection of ourselves in it, like maybe we were sort of that former client that like we think about like we've gone through the process ourselves, or it's just something that we're really good at. But at the end of the day, like it is, especially for the people that I work with, we're writing the copy, we're using, it's a first person narrative that we are sharing into this world. And even if we are talking about our business, there's still so much of ourselves in it. So it is such a good place to start from. And then of course you can be like, okay, and here's my services that I provide, and here's my clients that I serve, and just keep continuing to build it out to where it is a lot more well-rounded. But it's just such a great starting place.
Have you been feeling frustrated trying to get ChatGPT to sound like you? You know this is an awesome tool you can use for so many things in your business, but you're tired of wasting time going back and forth only to end up with generic copy that sounds like a robot wrote it. Our new brand persona for ChatGPT mini course will help you hone your brand's unique voice with the help of ChatGPT, so you can get ChatGPT to dish up content ideas that are perfect for your brand and write copy that sounds just like you. With this quick, easy, and actionable mini course, we'll walk you through the process of training ChatGPT for your brand. So in less than an hour, you can turn ChatGPT into your amazing new assistant, content creator, copywriter, brainstormer at a minuscule fraction of the cost. So why wait? Sign up for our brand persona for ChatGPT mini course right now at AuthenticAIForEntrepreneurs.com/mini course. And in less than an hour, we'll get your ChatGPT to sound just like your brand and work authentically for your business. Yeah. Oh, I love that. So, how do you go about normally kind of having ChatGPT implement your brand voice after you've kind of honed it? What does that look
Yeah.
like for you and your clients?
Yeah, I mean, a lot is continuing to refine it, as it gives, so certainly sharing it. If I'm working on a client, I have to like at the beginning of every chat be like, ignore everything you know about my business. And we're going to talk about, X client today. We're going to talk about Jane Doe, and this is who she is, and this is her brand voice. And so that is definitely number one. It kind of goes overboard with me in the mixology cocktail terminology. And so I'm always having to pare it down. And I keep saying it, I keep revising my own instructions in there to be like, first it was like a well-placed like cocktail metaphor. And now it is like very few when, limited, like when it makes sense, because it's just like everywhere. It loves a good theme.
Oh, yeah, I know.
But
I've noticed that. I cannot tell it that I'm like from Colorado anymore. Like, usually, I would just like include a few little,
yeah.
things. Like, I'm a dog mom of 3. I love
Mm-hmm.
rock climbing, skiing, hiking. We live in Colorado.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, everything it was putting
Everything.
out was like
Yeah.
Colorado mountain theme.
Right.
All like the analogies and like inspiring quotes about
Yes.
like getting to the peak. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't, ChatGPT.
Yeah, everything is like shake this up or mix up something or just like the perfect cocktail you do, Which is, I mean,
Yeah.
it has really helped me hone my brand voice. I want to be this like marketing mixologist. I love leading into my theme. And it has actually helped me do that more and sort of be confident in that. But it
Mm.
still has a time and place.
Yeah, for sure. No, I love that though. It's like, and here's the thing too. It's about finding little things like that funny. It's
Yeah,
about kind of enjoying the adventure of tweaking and figuring
totally.
out, getting curious about it. Look at me enjoying the adventure. Oh gosh, I'm
Yeah,
turning into ChatGPT with the Colorado synonyms.
yeah.
But yeah, like I think that's really, really fun. You know what I've been noticing lately
Hmm.
too? as I've been playing around with like the brand voice stuff with the custom GPTs
Yeah.
too, is like, okay, so I had my custom GPT write something in my brand voice and I was like, yes, okay, thank goodness. Because on it, if we're honest, like I've been getting a little bit annoyed with the regular ChatGPT Plus, like, but
Yeah.
with in the regular conversations
Yes.
lately, it's just been like forgetting my brand voice. So the custom GPT, I was like, it did it again,
It,
like how I wanted
yes, I have,
it.
so I haven't explored it too much, but I created a GPT for a client around turning like newsletter articles into LinkedIn posts. And then I created
Mhm.
one similar for myself. And it is like, it is nailing it every single time. Whereas just a normal chat thread, I feel like I'm reminding it a lot
Yep.
of, okay, can we go back? Like, remember, this was the input, this is what my client said. Like, you've gone a little astray. Let's hone it back in. And I will talk to it like that. I'll be like, you went too far. Like, can you please go back up and read what I told you to do and like follow, the instructions. But
Yeah.
the GPTs, it is like every time it is nailing it because I think it's like it's so limited and niche and there's restrictions and you're not sort of just giving a large thing. Yeah, so I definitely need to create more of those because you're right. It's been like 100% nailing it every time. And I've been so
Yeah.
amazed. And then I go to just my normal and I'm like, like there's more tweaking to
Yeah.
do, which I do, I'm a writer, I'm an editor. Like I'm much more of an editor than a writer, frankly. Like I
Hmm.
can't start from a blank sheet of paper. It's harder. But I love getting in and editing. And I think that's what my clients love because they can see that I'm like really tweaking word for word, like to really make it theirs and
Hmm.
to hone in that brand voice. And I do think it can struggle sometimes to do that itself.
Yeah. Oh, we're so similar. Yeah, I was opinions editor at our college newspaper for like a year. And so and I had that realization recently lately because, we all have these skills inherently
Mhm.
that like we don't always realize that it's a skill
Right.
necessarily,
Yes.
And so I've realized someone actually was asking me the other day, like, how can I ensure like train how can we train our interns to use these tools better, because
Mhm.
it is one of those things. It's happening. Interns are going to be using these tools
Yes.
obviously, and it's
Yes.
like there's good ways that you could use them and bad ways. And I was like, I think that really what we need to do as a culture is improve our editing skills, like our
Yes.
ability to edit, because
Mhm.
that's not something that everyone fully understands, but it's so helpful when you're using
Right.
tools like ChatGPT.
Right. Especially, and the more that you use ChatGPT, you realize, and this is how sort of we started getting onto this, got how we met and started the podcast conversation, but thinking about all of the words and things that sound like ChatGPT, right? And so not only are we having to edit for what feels authentic to us and is what really going to move our audience to take action and sort of all of that branding and marketing stuff that is just kind of ingrained in us when we've done it for so long. But now we have to also edit out what sounds like ChatGPT. And that's really important too, right? Because I think there is so many signs of like this was written by chat, which we don't want. We want chat to make our lives easier and make the content better, but it should still be very authentic to us and our clients and not just something that chat wrote.
Yeah, guys, we were laughing because I was sharing about how, guys, we can't use the word unlock anymore. You can't start a sentence with unlock because people like will start to recognize that
Yeah.
as ChatGPT. And we were talking about like how that sucks though, because unlock is such a
Right.
great word in a lot of situations.
And it was like the same day I had a Instagram reel that was talking about like unlock your signature brand marketing style, which is my quiz, which I have used the word unlock for my quiz before chat was a thing, but now the word is canceled. Can't use it anymore, guys.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's gonna just depend. Well,
I mean,
firstly,
there's
I
a
don't.
place.
Yeah, there's a time and a place for it, and I do think that like, the people who are all up ChatGPT's butt, like us, like will
Yes.
see that more
Right.
so than like, regular-ish people or
Yeah.
whatever. But for sure. And I also think, yeah, it is one of those things. I know I've been getting mad about certain like words like that too. I'm like, unlock is like literally the thing that works best here. I'm just gonna
Right.
use it.
Yes, I know. I'm working with like a therapist right now, and like unlock works for a lot of things, like unlocking your emotions. And I'm like, I like that. I'm leaving it in because it does make sense here. But it is funny, like, but I do think it. it helped. It actually, I feel like I am a better editor because, I'm starting with good material, but I know what to look for. And because it forces me to think, is this my brand or my client's brand, or is this chat just writing good copy? So you're really having to think about like, does this actually work? Or does this just sound good because
Yes, yes,
a
yes,
computer
yes.
wrote it? So I think it actually is making me a better editor.
Totally. Yeah. Critical thinking skills, guys. And also, too, what's that? I can't ever remember what that phrase is in like the novel writing world that's like, kill your darlings or something
Oh,
like
yes.
that. But it's like, there really is a thing as like, I have been sitting with like ChatGPT for 10 minutes before looking at like what it threw my way. And I'm
Hmm.
like, this is so compelling. I
Right.
love like
Yes.
this sentence. I love this sentence. I love this sentence, but it is repeating itself like three times. I got to get rid of something. Like,
Yes.
what the heck? Because it's hard sometimes to choose. It's hard to firstly recognize sometimes those repetitive patterns in copy, I
Hmm.
think. And then also it can be really hard to choose which sentence you like the
Yes.
best.
Yes.
You know what else I actually kind of realized actually this morning or yesterday, I think, as I was like playing around with the custom ChatGPT and my copy, brain voice, all that stuff. So I was like making tweaks to what I wanted and what I was asking it and all that different stuff. And I realized that I almost think that there's some things with ChatGPT when you're honing brand voice that you can tell it, like, don't do that, especially if it's totally off brand for
Yes.
you. But then there's some things that you might just need to kind of like realize it's going to give you, and that's okay because it won't change the tone, right? So the
Hmm.
example I'm thinking of is emoji usage.
Yes.
ChatGPT, like literally all the emojis, all the
All of
different
them.
emojis,
Yes.
and it threw out like a caption, and I was like, this is amazing, except for like the 8 emojis that it
Right.
used and stuff. And I like asked it, like, hey, I asked you, please don't use emojis. Do not use emojis. And it's like, okay, I'm sorry. Here's the next like bit of copy. And it totally went in the opposite direction of
Uh-huh.
like not
Yes.
in my brand voice, like not all
Right.
the different stuff. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is something where I can allow the emojis. They're easy
Right.
to delete and just add my own if it's going to hone, like write the copy in the tone and the style that I want from the get-go. You know what I'm trying
Yeah.
to say?
Yes. That is interesting. I have found that if it goes one way and like, so with one client, we wanted it to be the language to be more playful and it went full on whimsy. It went from like pretty like stale and a little boring to like full on whimsy. But it was really helpful to be like, okay, cut it back a little bit. Like I still want that playful tone. And then I got what was perfect. And so I feel like you do have to kind of like go to an extreme sometimes with it so that it understands like if I ask it to just like tweak something a little bit, it's basically the exact same words with like 3 words changed, right? It's like sometimes I want the format to completely change and to give me something completely new. So you have to take it off the rails to then like hone it back a little.
Yeah, I've heard that method. Like, I think that the dude who I saw was talking about it called like levers or something, or I don't know, but it's basically like the temperature,
Yeah.
right? Like
Oh,
adjusting
yeah.
like the temperature of what it is. And he was saying, yeah, like have ChatGPT sit like on a scale from 1 to 10, what was that in like this term? What was this in
Oh, I love
conversational?
that.
And then you can say, okay, if that's a 10, give me a 3 or something, and then it
Oh,
can do
that's
that.
brilliant. I'm going to start using that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I know. I'll have to. I forget the dude's name who I saw that from. I'll have to look it up
Yeah.
and drop it on the podcast. But
Yeah.
Kristen, I cannot believe that it's freaking already 30
I
minutes gone
know.
by.
Seriously, we could really talk about this forever.
Forever. But I'm setting boundaries,
Yes.
guys. I'm sticking to them. So thank you so much for everything you have shared. Before we get into you sharing your socials and all that different
Yes.
stuff, is there anything else that you just want to share with the audience about AI technology at all, or anything?
I mean, I think that there is this like still hesitancy to jump in and use it. And likely if you're listening to this podcast, you are already like in it. But I would just say like be transparent, be open. Everyone understands that like it's hard as solo entrepreneurs, especially like we need help. And I just consider chat to be like a team member. And that's how in my head it works. And I think that no one can sort of like diss you for, having an extra support team member, like in your business.
Yeah, yes. And I love that's why I love having these conversations too and just hearing you share about how you're using it and how you're using it
Hmm.
with your clients too. And I think the
Hmm.
more we can normalize all of this,
Exactly.
the better. So, thank you. Thank you for sharing this. Can you please tell everyone how they can connect with you,
Yes.
find you, all that stuff?
Absolutely. So I'm on everywhere at it's at District Brand Bar. So think of it like Washington D.C. District and then Brand Bar. But you can also go take my quiz. You'll unlock your signature brand marketing style. It's a fun quiz. You figure out your cocktail style, whether you're on the rocks, neat, shaken or stirred, based on your personality type, and it'll really just help you be more authentic when it comes to your marketing. So you can do that at marketingstylequiz.com.
Thank you so much. I've so
Thank
enjoyed
you.
this.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
How great was Kristen, you guys? I don't know if you could tell, but I was just geeking out the whole time. I loved everything that she was saying. And it was so awesome to hear all those actionable tips that she shared with us. So if you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you share it with another business buddy who could also use to listen to it. And hey, while you're at it, why not go ahead and leave us 5 stars or a friendly review on whatever platform you're listening to the podcast on? Because that really does help us to continue spreading our authentic AI message and building our authentic AI community. All right, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll catch you next time I catch you. Thank you so much for tuning in to Authentic AI for Entrepreneurs, my friend. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your shows.